and welcome to the Sloom Room podcast. We're very, very excited to be hosting Kearin from the Sweetest Slumber today. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So Kearin is a mom of two. She is an exceptional human being, and she's the founder of the Sweetest Slumber. She's a certified pediatric sleep specialist who is teaching fellow moms to burn the baby book and really tap into their parental instincts.
Yes, you got it. You got it right. That's exactly it. It is a bit of a mouthful, but there we are.
Yes, exactly. So as a mom myself, I have two kids, a 5 and a 3-year-old. And when I had my son 5 years ago, or just over 5 years ago, I did not know anything about parenting. Mm-hmm. You're always told that being a mom is such a natural thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not.
Yeah, it can be hard.
It can be very hard. And I think that sleep is such a big part of what it is, because you are quite accustomed to your 8 hours.
And you don't appreciate how simple sleep feels until you have children, and then it feels ever so complicated.
Exactly.
And it's essential. So we need it all.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that it's just difficult to also understand and navigate that journey as a new mom, because you're tired, and why is your child not sleeping? Because everybody else's children or kids are sleeping. So
I always say it feels like baptism by fire.
Yeah.
It's like someone's just come in and your whole world is on fire. And there's no right or wrong, and you're just so overwhelmed. And at your age, if you don't have children, I'm sure we're really making you excited.
Yeah, so fun, guys.
Yeah, it is exceptionally challenging.
Yeah, and it was just such an interesting journey. And I found you on Instagram after I sleep trained my first child, which is I think that a lot of people find you because something within your gut tells you, I don't know if this is the right decision.
Yep.
But the world or society as a whole is telling you that it is.
Exactly.
So how do you kind of navigate that journey? Because you're recovering and being birthed as a new human.
Yeah.
As a mom, and you have to deal with the situation, almost judgment.
Yes.
In a sense, from yourself and the society.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today is sleep with little ones, and how to navigate that journey as a whole, which I'm so excited about.
Yay.
So thank you. So Kearin, you have this beautiful community of moms around you because you started the Sweetest Slumber.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what is the Sweetest Slumber and how you think, or why you think you've built this strong community of moms?
Sure. So I think speaking to how you experience motherhood, and we all experience it differently, I think we have this preconceived idea about what motherhood should be. And then you're kind of in it and you're looking at everyone and you're thinking, why didn't you tell me it was so hard? Like, why did you look like you had it all together when you couldn't have had it all together all the time? And I felt so misaligned with the information and the people around me. And it felt so hard and so isolating. And I had so much guilt that I wasn't enjoying every single minute.
Yeah.
And starting the Sweetest Slumber was kind of like a rebirthing of my motherhood journey is not going to be what I thought it was, but that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually good, because it doesn't have to be this preconceived idea. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be hard. And I wanted to create a space where there was honesty, there was realness. It wasn't all doom and gloom, but it just made mothers feel seen and feel heard and feel uplifted. Yeah. And that was my goal. I wanted to support families in a way that felt right for them and it felt right for me. And that I saw their family dynamic improve long-term versus this like short blip of, yes, your child's sleeping for 10 hours and then, oh my gosh, 2 weeks later, it's an absolute mess again.
Yeah. And were you certified sleep specialist, pediatric sleep specialist before you had kids?
No. I wish it would have been really helpful, hey. It would have. No. Okay, so Hudson, my eldest, he was born prematurely, and we had a really, really hard start. The first year of his life was potentially the hardest of my entire life. And I feel like I've had harder moments actually after that, but I've been able to handle them better. that first year was exceptionally challenging, and I was trying to get advice or to feel empowered by outside forces that really just didn't align with my intuition as a parent, and it constantly felt conflicted. And so I was like, you know what, screw it. We're not doing this anymore. We're just doing something else because this just feels wrong. And I'm talking specifically now to sleep training. So 6 years ago, I found the parenting space to be very rigid. There wasn't a lot of people that were talking about flexibility and about kind of listening to your intuition. The information was just, I suppose, it just didn't work for us, and Hudson and I, it was like a battle. I knew I wasn't listening to him, and it just felt really wrong. And so I then went and did a lot of research. And because I was very anxious and I didn't know I was very anxious, I was up researching and doing all the work and finding all the information. And I crossed paths with a lady in Canada who at the time was one of the only ladies doing these certification courses. And I connected with her and started studying. So Hudson, I think he was just before his first birthday. As I was kind of learning and growing, it all just felt so good. Like I loved it. It felt good. It made sense for him. It made sense for me. And that kind of led to me going on to help, I think, over 500 families. Yeah. So that's how it was born.
I can resonate so much with that because I am a very routine-based person, whereas my husband is like, go with the flow. But for me, sleep training offered the opportunity to have the schedule. And then when it didn't align, I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like they
the whole
said
day is messed up.
At 8:30 a.m. they must be asleep. So it was very difficult. But then, especially with our second born, it really hit home that we need to listen to her and to our son more so than what we did. Or
I think what's important is that so sleep sets the tone in a household. So restful sleep is like vital. We know that, right? We know that.
Yeah.
But when we are like micromanaging sleep when it comes to human beings who have their own needs and we're trying to like overanalyze it, what we're doing is we're stealing the joy out of sleep. And I always say to families, your goal is you can't force sleep. Like sleep is a biological function. So you have to have all these other factors aligned for you to feel safe, for you to fall asleep.
Yeah,
and as
for
adults,
your body to say, like, I'm ready.
Because it's vulnerable. Falling asleep is really vulnerable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a very vulnerable thing. So when we are trying to get these babies to sleep and we are feeling so dysregulated ourselves and we're feeling so stressed out and oh my hat, it's like 20 minutes and you're still not sleeping and you're bouncing the baby in the dark room and the white noise is blaring and someone then rings the doorbell and the dogs are barking and now you're like, oh my gosh. Like I'm literally can't do this right now. And you feel like you could perhaps murder somebody. Like there's no ways this tiny baby is going to feel safe to sleep.
No, your energy isn't giving
It's
safe.
not giving calm.
It's not giving
Sloom vibes. It's not going to happen for you.
Not.
So that's important, but we lose sight of that when we're spiraling and stressing around sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the less you sleep, the more you spiral.
Exactly.
So it's a never-ending life cycle of
it's really hard.
Terrible anxiety.
Yeah.
And your main objective, and I think you have answered this, is that you want parents to really focus on using their instincts rather than following a book. And as I mentioned earlier, motherhood isn't as natural as one would want it to be, as one would expect it to be. And I think following your instincts can be quite challenging. What is your kind of thoughts on that?
So I think when people say, oh no, like it comes naturally to me. Okay, well, breastfeeding a baby is meant to be natural, but it can be exceptionally challenging and really hard, okay? And when our intuition is blocked out by outside noise, it's really hard to listen to it. So my job when working with families is to say, you do have the ability to listen to your intuition. The problem is that everything else is too loud. Everything else is too loud. So we have to turn everything else down
in order for you
to be able to hear and listen and be guided by your intuition. And that is vital. And if we don't have that, then when someone says to you, oh, listen to your instincts or use your intuition, well, you can't.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's impossible. So my job is to help families.
Understand.
You do have it, and we just have to work on the other factors so that you can hear it.
That's amazing. That's such great advice. You are also a sleep training dropout, as you would like to call it.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I think that the narrative is shifting a bit, but there's a lot of judgment, I suppose, in the parenting space and motherhood and sleep. And back then, so 5.5-ish years ago, there was so much information around sleep training that it felt like it was the only choice. Yeah. That's how I felt.
Same.
I felt like, well, we either are just going to wait it out and be miserable and not sleep for years, or we have to sleep train.
Yeah.
So
those are your only options.
Those are your options. Wait it out and feel sorry for yourself. And want to sleep so badly and sleep's not happening and just get really sad and tired and old. Or sleep train the baby, because that's what you have to do. So I went into it very naively, thinking that it was my only option. And it was absolute torture. It was terrible. I hated it. My son hated it. My husband hated it. It was so stressful. Listening to him cry, not being able to respond to him in a way that I wanted to respond to him.
What your instincts were telling you, your intuition.
It just felt inherently wrong. And Hudson and I have actually spoken about it, which is amazing. And we've been able to have like healing conversations around it, because I believe I caused him trauma. Like, it felt traumatic for him. It felt traumatic for me. And I know that can sound like a bit like hokey pokey, but the thing is, our lives and our experiences are all very unique. And for him specifically, and for me specifically, it was just torture. Yeah. And that led me to a space where I abandoned it all. And I started to say, okay, well, let's figure out what works for us, because we're unique and we're our own people. Yeah. And that's what led me to do the work that I do.
I mean, I think even sleep in adults, everybody has their own routines, their own ways, their own habits.
Yes.
I like my bed this way, you like your bed that way, I like my blanket this way. It's definitely, it's such a unique thing.
Of course.
Like you were saying, it's a biological
it's a
part of us, and it's a vulnerable state to be in. I think a big part of sleep, or sleep as an entirety, is the support you have, especially when you're a new parent or you have 4 kids. Having the support and people respecting your way of managing your child's sleep is so important.
Vital.
And I know that you mentioned your nanny, you almost trained her to a sense of understanding your son's intuition or her intuition, and kind of just working together. Same with when he went to school.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I think what's really important in parenting children and being around humans is to trust that not everybody is going to do things the same way we do them, but allowing the people that you trust, and I suppose that's really important. You have to trust the people that are in your children's lives.
Yeah.
But what's important is that they use their intuition, and that we don't become too rigid in our expectations of what they're not going to do it the same way.
Yeah.
And I love it when I work with families, and I can physically see the parents becoming confident when they are listening to their intuition, because often mothers will step in, and I had a dad, he was so cool. He was such a vibe. I loved chatting with him, but the mum was amazing as well, but she was so anxious and overwhelmed that she was clouding his intuition.
You're almost like blocking him and saying, no, you're not going to do it the right way. Oh my word. I was exactly the same.
Yeah,
anxiety brings out the best in us, really.
I'm telling you.
It's the best.
Swell. But the thing is, it's so important that the people and our children are looking to us for leadership. I think that's such a common misconception when we take a more kind of I don't even like all the labels, but gentle, attachment, conscious, whatever parenting approach, that people think, oh, well, they just let their children do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Most importantly, when it comes to sleep, our children need to trust that we have a routine, that we have structure, that we have guidelines, and that
they can shift.
They can shift, but that they have to kind of surrender to the parents' leadership or to the caregiver's leadership, which is very important for sleep safety. And I talk about this often with families, is that if you are spiraling and panicking, and especially with toddlers, because toddlers, they don't give a damn.
Different ballgame.
Yeah, it's very different. And I love working with toddler families because even if you had a really chilled experience with a baby, when they become toddlers, they want to step into that leadership role, you know? So your job is to say, I hear you and I see you, but I know what's best for you, and to kind of guide the sleep routines and the sleep safety so that they can kind of surrender to knowing that you've got things under control.
Yeah, amazing. And what are some of the key observations or key sleep secrets that you've learned along the way?
So if we're going to come to like basics, it's important, and I say it a lot, that sleep feels safe. So that the room feels safe, that it feels calm. And that looks different
for everybody,
you know? But having a space that the child trusts, whether it be a bed, if you're bed sharing and the child is with you, it's often a bed, and that it feels calm, that it feels good. That's really, really, really important. And often families kind of miss that, where they start trying to manage all these outside things, where I like to say, take control of what you can control. So make the environment set for sleep, make it calming, dim the lights, especially with toddlers, very important, is that the environment feels calming and it feels right.
They're going into a space to now sleep.
Yes, and they understand that there's a difference, you know, like I'm not like wanting to kill all the fun. Like tackle your children, wrestle them. It's such a vibe. Go for it. And that's where our Sloom came into so much. I mean, we spent so much time on our Sloom, wrestling and tackling on our hippie bed, running up and down, draining batteries, making sleep feel good. Making it feel good for their relationship, your relationship with your child is so important. So I say to families, like, what can you do to make it feel fun, to make it feel playful? And that's where our Sloom came into so much. We had to spend many hours doing all the things.
It's amazing.
I'm trying to think of any other kind of secrets. A secret that is probably one of the most important is to understand that your child is unique. And I know that sounds like, I know you've said that, but it's so important. Like
it is important. And often because there is literally a book for sleep.
I know.
You're like, no, but he is now been awake for 1 minute, 25 seconds and 3 split seconds.
And let me tell you,
some
people are stop watching that. I work with mums where they're so anxious and so overwhelmed that they're like, stop watching wake windows.
Oh, yeah. I was that mother.
Oh, sorry. It must have felt so hard. Yeah, it's draining. And then you're like, sure, but I didn't stop the clock. When did he fall asleep?
Yeah, when did he? It's the weird. I had every app
Shame.
There was. It's insane. Looking back, I'm like.
You were so stressed out.
Yeah, and I'm actually such a good mother.
Yeah.
And back then I was like, oof.
You're doubting yourself.
You are not living.
No, I know.
It's crazy.
But the thing is as well, so I mean, we could talk about wake windows. I think it's important. There's no evidence, like there's no science-based evidence for wake windows, which is very important for people to know because some people base their whole lives around wake windows. And when it comes to sleep specifically, when it comes to babies and toddlers, we have limited information because how do you take non-consenting individuals, first of all, and base
they
data?
Literally cannot speak.
They literally cannot consent. But the thing is, like, the information that we have is based on adults and it's based on different brains. And then we've got kind of very small case studies for some babies and some toddlers. But still, that's based on the parents' kind of interpretation of their sleep behavior and perception. So it's so complex. So find the joy in sleep.
I think that's a secret. That's
the best.
Being safe, creating a safe space, whatever that means for you.
Yes.
Finding the joy in sleep, I think for both the parents and for the kids. And throw out the baby book.
Yeah. Burn the baby book and realize that it's so nice if it works for some people. Like, I love that for them.
Yeah.
Like, if the schedules, like the very strict schedules and the very firm wake windows and the 2-hour nap in the middle of the day, like, if that works for you, I love that for you.
Yeah.
But you're the minority. So let's not write the books about you. But the books have been written about you.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say.
No.
Yeah.
So really important to honor, like, I've got 2 sons, same mum, same dad, same house. They were born in the same hospital by the same doctors. They are so different.
It's crazy.
Their sleep has been different from the womb. Like right off the bat, I was like, wowzers, okay, this is inherently different.
Yeah.
And their genetics are pretty similar. So how on earth can you create schedules and sleep rules for children from different backgrounds, different demographics, different cultures? You can't.
Yeah.
You literally can't.
That's crazy. Can you please share like quite a rewarding moment that you've experienced or like a success story with some of your families?
Definitely. So I have so many fun stories, but my favorite stories are when I can see, like physically see in families. So I work virtually, I work via Zoom. And I can see the weight is lifted off of these parents' shoulders when they're talking about sleep. So I had a mum, and she is a wonderful human, but she was so anxious and so stressed and so overwhelmed and micromanaging every part of her daughter's day and her daughter's life and what the daughter was eating and how did that impact her sleep. And I could see she was exhausted. And she wanted to control things that she had no control over. And when we worked together for like about 6 months. It was a very long journey. But what was amazing is she physically looked like a different person. And I don't think it had much to do with sleep, more to do with that she had really reflected and she'd realized the joy in her life and the joy in her child and the joy in her sleep, and that she really had to just surrender to it. And it was amazing. Yes, her child started sleeping through the night, and that was great. And I love that. But it's more the like overall improvements in the family, like seeing the family thrive, seeing them having fun, seeing the dad smiling when he's talking about sleep and not like, oh my gosh, if I say something now, she's coming at me because I didn't have to wake up and feed the baby at night. So it's more like the overall, and it was just a wonderful family, and I'm still in contact with them.
Oh, that's
and they've
amazing.
had 3 kids by now. I mean, out there doing the things.
Well, doing the most.
Doing the most, and just really so much joy and so much life. They surrendered to bed sharing. They decided to move their children. So they're remaining flexible.
Yeah.
But it suits them, you know.
Yeah, and also just listening to sleep intuition from both sides, I think. That is amazing. And then so you guys obviously have a Sloom.
Yes. We love our Sloom.
Big fan.
Yes, big fan.
So one of the key kind of things about the Sloom that I found amazing is the no motion transfer technology, because I mean, your hair, getting your baby to sleep and then having to move.
And having to wait.
It's like your life depends. It's like a bomb.
I'm telling you. It's like if
Same
I move
anxiety.
now, if I roll away now and I wake this tiny human, I will never forgive myself.
Never.
So what I really loved, so we bed shared in the Sloom for a while, and now my son's not bed sharing because, contrary to popular belief, if they bed share with you, it doesn't mean they're going to bed share with you until they're 18. It's just a season. I remember every time we said it, mostly around like family and friends are like, oh my gosh, like he's going to be in your bed forever. I'm like, don't worry, I got this. It's going to be fine. But what I found so helpful with the bed sharing and the Sloom was that when you are needing to either breastfeed them to sleep and you're in close proximity to them, or you need to get up and make a wee in the middle of the night, when you're getting up, the whole bed is not wobbling or creaking or springs popping up on the side, which is just not a vibe, because then you wake in this tiny human that you just spent all this time to keeping asleep. So we found it really, really helpful and beneficial.
Amazing. So thank you so much for joining us. I think we all learned some valuable lessons today. And it's just so nice to, after 5 years, to really resonate with a lot of what you're saying. And I'm so happy that I found you.
Yay.
On the gram. I mean,
I'm telling you.
It's good for something. It's good for something.
But I think it's powerful, to connect people and to feel like you're not alone and to feel safe. And that's what we all want. We want to feel safe. We want to feel rested. We want to feel seen and heard.
Absolutely. Yeah. And respected.
Yes.
Exactly. So thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yay. Till next time.